All right, so yeah, I'm aware this has been a long time coming. Okay, I'm aware it's been a bit since the last time I put something up, but I promised myself that I would see this through. The reason it's been so long is because it's so difficult. I'm trying to figure out where's the actual camera. Anyway, so 1998. That year was something else. 1998 was the year that, well, I'd like to forget. It was the year in which my music bug hit, which eventually led to multiple albums being created later on. It was also where a friendship blossomed that really wasn't a friendship that I'd learned later in life. Really, really wasn't. But getting a little ahead of myself. So, when I was young, I had figured out a little trick. See, back then there was still GameStop was just barely starting. It was Funko Land. And at this point, I can't remember if they had just become GameStop or if it was just before they became GameStop. But there were still Babbage's as well. And Babbage's paid cash for used games. Well, I figured out there were cheap games over at GameStop Funko Land. We're talking like this is back in the day when you could buy a Mario Duck Hunt for 19 cents. And there were various games on the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis that were under a quarter. You know, um, Babbage's paid a flat dollar for NES games and anywhere from $1 to $3 for Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis games. So one day I went to St. Charles Mall in Waldorf, Maryland, with with $20. I had $20 that day. And typically when I'd go to the mall, I'd basically hang out. I was a kid. I was right around, let's see, I'd have been 14, 14 going on 15 when this happened. So it's kind of what you do. You just go to the mall and hang out, right? So I went, got on the bus, and I spent the day making money. I got banned from St. Charles Mall. I'm probably banned to this day. Although I'm pretty damn sure if I went back to Maryland right now, walked inside of St. Charles Mall, nobody would give a flying shit. Uh, but yeah, I got kicked out for quote unquote running a business. I'm still unsure. I keep going back and forth over who reported me. Like I keep saying like some days I'll say the Babbage's guy get it. Some days it'll be the other guy over at GameStop FuncoLand. But to this day, I'm really not sure. So that happened towards the beginning of the year. A little bit later into the year, I had, and I'm sorry if my youngest brother is seeing this, but I stole my youngest brother's piggy bank. I took that sumbitch, took a knife to it, and cut it up. Had somewhere around, if memory serves me right, something like $130 in bills and coins. Came home with a lot of games, including a giant mistake at no, it was FuncoLand back then. It was FuncoLand. WCW Super Brawl on the Super Nintendo, which at the time was either $60 or $70 used. And that was a god-awful game. That was just a horrible game. But it got a bunch of stuff at like $5. We had gone to my friend's house and was rolling up quarters. I had rolled up pennies at the pawn shop. The guy called them brownies. So to this day, occasionally I still call them brownies. Got banned from that pawn shop. That's a whole thing that I don't remember entirely why, but the guy was pissed off when we came back by later, and he said something, and I told him to suck it, because this was the beginning of the Attitude Era in wrestling, and well, not only am I a giant wrestling fan, but I was also pretty damn stupid. And some would argue still am. But that's beside the point. Also, towards the end of the school year, because that was happening, I think, during spring break. That one happened. My depression got horrible. And I had plotted out to take my own life. For the first time. And was going to do it at school. Because, I'm a genius. And had told the girl who I was horribly infatuated with at the time, which I look back and I can't begin to understand why. But she'd been leading me on for a long time. And she went and told the teacher, and one thing led to another. I'm getting pulled out of a class. I'm in the back of an ambulance because they had to transport me by ambulance, I guess. And the whole school knew. They put a jacket over my head. But here's the thing. See, back in Oxon Hill, I was one of the most known people. Not the most popular, but everyone knew who the fuck I was. I'm serious. I would walk through the halls like, "What's up, Neil? What's good, Neil? Yo, Neil! Big Neil! Big Neil!" To the point where years later, I'm chilling at the gas station where Devon was working at, and somebody comes up to the window who we went to school with, I guess. It was like, "Yo, is that Big Neil back there?" Yeah. And so anyway, what they put over my head was my jacket. Well, that was my jacket. This red and black jacket that everyone saw me wear just about every damn day. So they're trying to hide my identity, but it didn't do that. I ended up finishing the year at home. I was given a computer, Mac at the time, which back then, Mac wasn't worth very much as far as quality goes, so it wasn't much of anything. But yeah, as time went on, ow, sorry, I got a cat who's decided that she wants to eat. Yes, love. Yeah, yeah. Yes, Estelle. Oh, she run away. She don't like being on camera. Estelle, look. Yeah, you're a good girl. Anyway, so you want some beef, baby? Let's get you your beef. Here you go. Estelle. Estelle, baby. Whoa. Get your beef. But, yeah. So, year went on. 10th grade went past. Estelle, she does not like me recording anything. She's like not even going to eat, probably. You're just going to be a brat? I'm going to be a brat, you're going to eat. You going to be a brat? Here, Daddy, put it down. She likes me to hold the can, whether it's me or the wife. She likes to have us hold the can sometimes, but sometimes she just likes it down. She doesn't want to eat from the bowl 90% of the time. She wants to eat directly from the can. But anyway, yeah. And no, I'm getting ahead of myself there. Wow, I can't believe I just got ahead of myself that far. The first suicide attempt was in '99, and I'll explain why that was in a moment here. Oh, okay, okay, baby, that's not what you want. Hold up. Which, yeah, I could just stop recording and feed her, which appears I might have to do. All right, be back in a minute. So anyway, same thing still applies though, about why I'll get to that. And yeah, it was '99 when all that stuff with the school happened and the first attempted suicide. So 98 was the beginning of 10th grade. 99 is when everything else happened, which, yeah, we'll get to that. So I'm hanging out with Devon. We decided I was going to spend the night at his place because his mom was supposed to be out of town. And she didn't like people being at her place when she wasn't there, which, makes perfect sense. As an adult now, that makes perfect sense looking back. But we were dumb kids. We ain't know no damn better. So she ends up coming home. And we're not there at the time. But my uncle, the abusive, shit-tastic uncle, called. Good girl. Good girl. Sorry, Estelle just finished eating. And when When I got back with him, we acted like I wasn't there. Had him go in by himself. And what ended up happening was she told him to have me call Skip. Well, I call him, and this is the conversation. Ma's in the hospital. You're going to school tomorrow. I'll pick you up from school. Okay. Now I'll come get you that night. Because he's like, no, I'm not coming out. I'm not driving there. So she left again, knowing damn well that I was going to end up having to stay tonight. Because it was long past time for the last bus for me to be able to get home. And ended up, I was in the hospital. They found stage 4 cancer. And of course, if you've not watched up till now, Ma is my grandmother who was raising me. And it absolutely killed me to see her like that. This was in October. Fast forward a little bit. We're now in November. It's Thanksgiving. It's the day before Thanksgiving, I think. Yeah, I think it was the day before Thanksgiving. Though it might have actually been Thanksgiving. But either way, the whole family that was down at my Aunt Sandy's place. And they had set up Ma with hospice. And of course, I've never heard of hospice. I don't know what's going on. I just remember we lost Pop to cancer. And it didn't really go too far past when he was diagnosed. Now, yes, they were both heavy smokers. And from what I understand, at least a point, Pop was a drinker. But, again, young, don't know nothing, Well, at least when it comes to that stuff. This is the 90s, It wasn't really out there yet about all the real big negative issues. There were a couple ads here and there. There was a couple people talking about it, but it wasn't really as mainstream knowledge as it is today. And so we're all outside talking, or at least a couple of my aunts and uncles are talking, maybe a couple cousins. I'm not really talking. I'm just kind of like hanging out, figuring that we're getting ready to leave at that point. A hospice worker comes out and says it won't be long. She's got less. She'll be going anytime now. I broke down. And of all people to try to comfort me, my shitty ass uncle. Now that was the last tears that were shed until they closed her casket. Now, then when I found out that she was gone. So anyway, my uncle decides that he needs time to himself. That he was just going to leave me there with my aunt, which they had issues anyway. with each other, I learned later on. But that went over like a lead balloon. So I'm sleeping on the couch there. Um, Ma had come out and tried to eat with us, I think, that night, or maybe the next. The exacts on that are a little fuzzy, but I do remember that she came out, and when I had my turn to sit in there with her, I couldn't say nothing. I I didn't know what to say. I couldn't even say I love you. I couldn't say I thank you. I couldn't say I'll miss you. I couldn't say nothing. So I can't even remember what my last words to her were. And I'm sorry for tearing up here. This was one of the worst times of my life. Because to me, my grandmother was like my mother. This woman had taken care of me for my whole life. Her and Pop chose to give up their later years, the years when they should have been enjoying being empty nesters and everything, to take care of me and later on my younger brothers. And I say brothers because my middle brother stayed with us for a year or two at a point, at least somewhat, so that we could go to the same school, which that worked out not great. But anyway, that's another thing. My memory isn't good enough for that. Um, a lot of things from those years are kind of blocked out. A lot of memories when it came to Pop are blocked out, and they probably are better off that way. That time's probably better off blocked out of my memory. So that Monday, November 30th, 4:45 a.m. We lost her. Now I will talk about something that I've only talked about with about 4 people in my life. That night, my grandmother came to me in a dream, and we talked, and she said the words, "I'm sorry, Tony, I'm gone." That's the only part of that I remember. And when she said, "I'm sorry, Tony, I'm gone," phone rings. And I wake up dead, like completely. I was dead asleep, eyes open, looking like the freaking Undertaker kicking out of a pin or something. And I walk out to the hallway because I could walk by that. The wood floor in that house creaked like a son bitch. But at this point, it'd been 14, very very close to 15 years. I knew where every single creak in that floor was. I could walk around without being heard, without being noticed. And I kind of took a little pride in that, to be honest. To be honest, a little bit of pride. But so I stood outside of Skip's room and I heard the news. Now, you'd think that he would go let me know or something. Nope. He went on about his day like it was nothing. I'm getting ready for school. I think about getting up and getting on a metro bus to end up on Oxon Hill early, or just like disappear for the day or something. I don't know. And I don't do it. I decide, yeah, I'll just go to school and act like everything's normal. And I get a call because Skip would always call to make sure I was up, or to wake me up in some cases. And I get, Ma's dead. You're not going to school today. I'll be there in a couple minutes. That's how he tells me that she's gone. I know Estelle. Yeah, it's bullshit. He's bullshit. But yeah. That's how Skip tells me that she's gone. And that began the worst part of my life. And from there, for Christmas that year, he threw a pack of underwear, or it might have been socks. It was one of two. Threw a pack in my general direction while I was on my bed. It said, "There's your present, Merry Christmas." Yeah, this is the face of what my reaction to it was. I remember him arguing with social services on the phone after, I guess, notifying them of Ma passing, saying that they needed to continue to give food stamps because he wasn't spending his money on someone else's kid. I was going to starve if they didn't continue with food stamps. Now keep in mind, he's a trucker. He's making good money. That son bitch. But yeah. Eventually, we'd go through the suicide attempt, as well as a complete space out at school, which they sent me to the hospital for. And that summer, he told me on August 1st of 1999 that I had to sleep in the living room to make sure that I was ready to go because we had an important meeting the next morning. That meeting on August 2nd, 1999 was him tossing me into foster care. The social worker was pissed off because he never told me. And he was told to tell me, to have me get a couple things. He threw me in foster care with nothing but the clothes on my back. Months later, I was able to get some clothes and a couple other things that belonged to me. Still never got all my photo albums. There's still a lot of stuff. He went and sold off. He gave away my games, my game system. And he's like, well, my mother bought that. No, a good chunk of that I bought myself. And even if Ma did buy them, they were still mine. They were still bought for me. Not for him. Not for his kid. Not for whatever the hell he did with them. from what I hear, I wouldn't be surprised if he sold them for crack to give to his daughter. I really wouldn't be surprised because, she was a crack addict. I'm not just saying that just to say it. Like, she legitimately was addicted to crack cocaine. And it wouldn't surprise me to hear that that's what happened. Even if they supposedly had a strange relationship, when now they're all buddy-buddy. Yeah, no. Fuck him. But anyway, that's the end of the first about 15 and a half years. That's the beginning of me going into foster care, where 99 to 2000 was one hell of a ride. And I'll explain that next time. Because unfortunately, my family isn't done screwing me over. And somehow, what's next was even worse than getting tossed into foster care. Take care, y'all.